My fiancée told me, "My parents don't think you're good enough. They believe I deserve better." I responded, "Then go find it." That night, while she slept, I shifted the apartment lease to her name, deactivated her access to my credit card, and left. A week later, her entire family showed up at my new place, pleading for me to reconsider. The strange thing about heartbreak is how serene it feels in the moment. No yelling, no tears, just a cold, sharp focus that guides your every move. I'd been with Emily for 3 years, meeting her just after college at a mutual friend's apartment warming. She was intelligent, stunning, driven, everything I thought I needed. We shared an apartment after a year, got engaged after 2, and were deep into wedding plans when it all unraveled. In hindsight, the red flags were there. Emily's parents, Charles and Margaret, never truly welcomed me. They were the elite type. Old wealth, Ivy League educations, summer estates in Cape Cod. I grew up in a working-class family in Michigan, funded my degree at a public university with loans and odd jobs, and was grinding my way up as a structural engineer at a solid but unremarkable firm. At dinners with them, they'd probe about my job prospects or ask if my company handled high-profile contracts. Margaret often brought up Emily's ex, now a venture capitalist in Boston. Charles would mention colleagues' sons who were surgeons or CEOs. I shrugged it off. Many people deal with tough in-laws, don't they? Emily would nudge my knee under the table, smirking when her parents weren't watching. I thought we were solid. The day it all collapsed was ordinary. A Wednesday in May. I came home exhausted from a marathon meeting with a client. Emily was at our kitchen counter glued to her tablet. "Hey," I said, tossing my keys on the hook. "Good day?" She didn't reply immediately, which was odd. Emily was always chatty, about her job, her friends, something she read online. The quiet was my first hint something was off. "I had lunch with my parents," she said eventually, eyes still on her screen. "How are Charles and Margaret?" I asked, aiming for casual as I grabbed a soda from the fridge. "They're worried about us." I froze, can halfway to my mouth. "Worried how?" "About the wedding. About whether you're the best fit for me." I set the can down, leaning against the counter. "And what's your take?" "I think they're looking out for me." "That's not what I asked." She exhaled, shutting her tablet. "They brought up things I hadn't considered. Like how your job doesn't have the upward mobility of someone in tech or law. How we'll never live the lifestyle I'm used to. How our backgrounds are worlds apart." "We've known that since we started," I said, my tone still even. "It never seemed to faze you before." It didn't. But now, thinking about the long term, kids someday, I'm not sure. "They made some strong arguments," she said, fidgeting with her engagement ring, the one I'd saved 6 months for, though her mom called it simple when she saw it. "Like how you're so okay with where you're at. You never talk about becoming a director or launching your own company. You're fine being ordinary." That hit hard. I never claimed to be extraordinary, but I worked diligently, took pride in my projects. I wasn't changing the skyline, but I was carving out a respectable career doing work I cared about. "What are you getting at, Emily?" She twisted her ring again. "My parents don't think you're good enough for me. They think I could do better." The room seemed to shift, like the ground settling after a tremor. 3 years, a year engaged, countless shared moments and dreams, all hinging on her parents' opinion. "And you?" I asked, voice low. She wouldn't look at me. "I think they might be right. In a rom-com, this is where I'd beg, remind her of our bond, vow to earn her family's respect. But that cold clarity, it took hold. Then go do better, I said flatly. She blinked, caught off guard. I'm not saying we're over. I'm just have doubts. Doubts about me because your parents say I'm not good enough? It's more nuanced than that. Seems pretty clear-cut to me. I walked past her to our room, her puzzled gaze trailing me. I showered, the steaming water clearing my head as I mapped out my exit. By the time I dried off, I had a strategy. Emily was in bed when I came out, scrolling her phone like it was just another evening. She glanced up. Can we talk about this tomorrow? I'm beat, and we should both sleep on it. Fine, I said, sliding in beside her. Tomorrow. I waited until her breathing evened out around 1 a.m. Then I rose quietly, grabbed my packed gym duffel from the closet, and got to work. First, I accessed our apartment's tenant portal. The lease was in my name, with Emily listed as a resident. We'd set it up that way because my credit score was stronger when we signed. I filed a request with the landlord to transfer the lease solely to Emily, noting I wanted off. I knew it'd need her sign-off and landlord approval, but starting the process sent a signal. Our landlord, Mr. Kim, was fair and always liked me. I trusted he'd work with Emily if she stayed. Next, I logged into my bank. Emily was an authorized user on my credit card, used for shared bills. We'd kept most finances separate, but this was for household costs. I removed her access and ordered a new card for myself. I jotted down utilities and subscriptions, power, Wi-Fi, streaming, that I'd need to shift or cancel after giving her notice. I wrote a list. I was leaving, I'd started the lease change, and I'd collect my stuff later. I gave her a month to decide whether to keep the apartment or move, and I'd cover utilities meantime to give her time to take them over. I left the note on the counter with my key and walked out. I'd texted my friend Jake earlier, asking if I could stay at his place for a few days. He said yes, no hesitation, a real one. When I reached Jake's apartment at 2 a.m., he opened the door in sweats, half asleep but alert. You all right, man? Not really, I said, but I'll get there. Over drinks on his sofa, I laid it out. Jake didn't push me to reconsider or fix it. Her mistake, he said, tapping his glass to mine. Stay as long as you want. The next morning, my phone lit up. Texts, calls, voicemails from Emily escalating from shock to panic. Where are you? Call me now. You left without a word? The landlord emailed about a lease transfer. I can't cover this place alone. You cut off the card? How do I buy food? That last one stung. Despite her family's wealth, Emily prided herself on independence, meaning living off her modest marketing job salary while her parents paid her loans, car, and kept a hefty savings account she rarely used. Her pride left her unready for real self-reliance. I ignored her messages. I called my boss, took a few personal days, and started hunting for a new apartment. Within a week, I found a modest one-bedroom across town, move-in ready the next week. The rent stretched my budget, but recent work bonuses made it doable. I stayed at Jake's, crashing on his couch, gathering essentials for my new place. I updated my address everywhere. Since I still had legal access to the old apartment until the lease was sorted, I hired movers to grab my furniture on a day Emily would be working. Jake agreed to oversee it with my spare key, ensuring they took only my listed items. I ordered basics, sheets, dishes, toiletries, shipped to Jake's. By the time my new place was ready, I was set for a clean start. Emily's texts kept coming, shifting from furious to desperate. "Please, let's talk. We can fix this." I didn't mean it. I was overwhelmed with wedding stress. My parents were wrong. I see that now. On day 5, I sent one reply. "I'll grab my remaining stuff next week. Utilities are covered till month's end for you to transfer if you stay. Let me know when you're out so I can move out." Her response was instant. "Don't do this. I love you." Too late. On day 6, Charles called. I nearly ignored it, but curiosity won. "We need to discuss this," he said, his usual superiority softened by unease. "Nothing to discuss, Charles. Please, Emily's a wreck. Not my issue anymore." He sighed. "I may have crossed a line, said things I regret." "You don't say." "Can we meet? Margaret and I want to talk in person." Against my instincts, I agreed to coffee the next day. Just to hear them out, I told myself. At the cafe, I found not just Charles and Margaret, but Emily and her older sister, too, the full family lineup. "What's this?" I asked, standing by their table. "Sit, please," Margaret said, her polished demeanor frayed. "We need to talk." I sat as far from Emily as I could. She looked rough, eyes puffy, hair unkempt. Charles cleared his throat. "I owe you an apology. What I said about you was unfair and narrow-minded." "Really?" I said dryly. "Yes," he pressed on. "This week has shown us you were better for Emily than we realized." "How's that?" Margaret chimed in. "Emily's falling apart. She's not eating, barely sleeping. She loves you." I glanced at Emily, tears streaming silently as she stared at the table. "Also," Charles added, shifting uncomfortably, "Emily wasn't fully honest about your work," her sister piped up. "I'm into engineering. I looked you up. You designed the Crestview complex? That's huge. And you're lead engineer on the new Harborfront project?" "That's impressive," I shrugged. "I've been doing okay." "Why didn't you tell us?" Margaret asked. "Because it shouldn't have to matter," I said. "I'm an engineer because I love the work, not because I'm to win over my fiancé's parents." Charles looked abashed. "We misjudged you and shouldn't have swayed Emily." "You didn't sway her," I said. "She's grown and made her call." "I messed up," Emily said, voice raw. "I was weak. Let them influence me. I've hated myself for it." "We're asking," Charles said, "for you to give her another shot." I studied them, this family who deemed me lesser, now scrambling to undo their error. "Why the turnaround, Charles? Because I'm suddenly not a failure?" "No," he said, eyes darting briefly away. "Because my daughter's shattered." I nodded. I'd never boasted about my work, not to hide it, but because I didn't define me. The Harborfront project was a major win I'd worked brutal hours on, often too drained to detail it at home. Emily preferred discussing her marketing world, and I'd listened, not trumpeting my own wins. "Please," Emily reached for me. I leaned back. "I was so wrong. I love you, not your job or money." "But you didn't stand up for me," I said softly. "When they said I wasn't enough, you nodded along." "I was scared, overwhelmed with the wedding," she said. "It wasn't you. It was my own insecurities." "And now you're scared of paying your own bills?" She recoiled. "That's low." "Is it? You didn't reach out till the lease transfer hit and the landlord called you and the card stopped working." "Those realities woke me up," she said. "I saw how much I rely on you." "I don't want to be needed for logistics," I said. "I wanted to be chosen." I stood. "You picked your parents' judgment over me." "Wait," Margaret said. "Everyone errs." Emily erred. We erred. Doesn't that warrant a second chance? I looked at them, united to clean up their mess, and felt empty. I wish you well, I said, turning. Ryan, Emily stood, voice breaking, drawing stares. I'll do anything. Move in with you, pay my share, cut them off if I must. Her parents' faces tightened, revealing their true stakes. It's not about that, I said. It's about you showing me your core, who you are. Someone who puts prestige and others' views over trust and love. I walked away, her voice fading behind me. That was 7 months ago. I haven't spoken to Emily since, though she texts now and then. Her parents sent a fancy bourbon with a sorry note, which I re-gifted at Jake's birthday bash. The harborfront project I led opened last month to strong reviews. My firm promoted me to senior engineer with a solid raise. I bought a small condo in the complex, all mine. Sometimes I question if I was too rigid, too unforgiving. But then I recall how fast she faltered, how readily she echoed her parents' verdict on my value. Some wounds don't mend. The right partner won't need convincing you're enough. They'll know and defend it, even against their own kin. I'm still searching for that person, but now I know what I deserve and what I won't settle for. Thank you for watching Story. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more real-life stories.